In this video, I will describe how I started a social media brand from scratch for a Harley-Davidson store near Atlanta, Georgia. This video will be helpful for any graphic designer or social media manager who's trying to mimic the look and feel of a huge national or international brand to create their own style for themselves or a client. The store I worked on was for Thunder Tower West in a city called Morrow, Georgia, about 15 miles from Atlanta. They're one of 1,400 Harley stores in nearly 100 countries, and as far as I know, they didn't have a cohesive social brand strategy before we took over. The assignment was simple: create a look and feel, and then 3 posts per week with appropriate hashtags and links back to their website. These would be going on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Harley is obviously one of the most iconic American brands out there. They've been around since the early 1900s, and their bikes are simply epic and majestic, and they've been in countless movies, songs, etc. Though they originally started out with a clean-cut image, since the 60s they've embraced a bad boy brand, including biker and motorcycle clubs, big chopper bikes, and outlaw culture. So my first step in developing the social brand is I went to Harley-Davidson's main website, digging around on the homepage first, and then started taking mental notes about how they laid out their images and text, colors, sizing, whether they used gradients or any other type of effects. Then I went page by page and saw how they organized their products. I took a bunch of screenshots of the Harley main site and then also went to narrow down what fonts they're using by taking screenshots and then uploading it to what the font. Now, one thing to note is our advertising company works with a ton of bigger automotive brands like Ford, BMW, Audi, and more. Most of these brands have given our company access to what is called their ad planner, which includes high-resolution photography, brand guides, and fonts. The ad planner is indispensable when you're making websites or social for local Ford stores, for instance. But in this situation, we did not have access to the Harley ad planner, so we were literally making our social brand from scratch. Now, another thing to note is most Harley stores use an outside agency for their website, usually from a template and with built-in fonts and artwork. For instance, for our store, Thunder Tower West, they used Room 58's dedicated dealer website solution, certified by Harley-Davidson. I also cross-referenced Thunder Tower's current site, taking more screenshots and notes of style. Okay, and then finally I took a look at their social accounts for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. By this point I had a good idea of the kind of vibe and style I would go for. For the next step I went into Photoshop and I created a style sheet that I could utilize to at least start the Harley-Davidson store social brand. The style sheet is a simple one-page document that includes fonts, colors, textures, and photo examples that could help inform my designs going forward. I do this for all my social clients, and sometimes after that I'll create a multi-page document that I'll share with them that has a number of post types, posting schedule, advice, and more. Here's an example of the first piece of artwork I created. I'm starting to create a look and feel that strongly connects to the bigger brand. Now, these first couple weeks were a bit time-consuming because I was still gaining my footing and constantly referencing back to the main Harley site and then my associated sites to double-check and triple-check I was creating something that aligned with the research I did. I think it's helpful to periodically check back and see if you're deviating too much when it comes to a major brand. So one thing I wanted to have was some sort of grit grunge on the text. So here's an example of how I added that effect. First, I downloaded a brush pack, then scanned through using one I liked. Then I would create a folder for my text, and then I applied my brush to a layer mask on top of that, so all the text could still change, but my effect would still be there. Oh, I must mention that at the same time I went to Thunder Tower West's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter account, I also took screenshots of their stats so I could get a sense of where they're at before we started with them and see if we could increase followers and impressions. If you go to the YouTube description of this video, you can see a glimpse into some of those stats. Now, as the days progressed, I was able to make the artwork faster and faster. I'd use Harley-Davidson for all my images, just dragging them into Photoshop and moving stuff around. I worked on this account for approximately 4 months before passing it off to another designer. It was a fun experience of translating a national brand to a local store. I hope you found this video helpful, and please reach out to us if you need social media assistance for your brand or your company.